an Aggie building, and then just other initiatives that landmarks. So I don't know if we want to take a quick moment. I think everyone at this point more or less knows everybody on the call, but I'll just introduce myself. Lisa Snyder. I'm project manager at the Neighborhood Design Center and also serve as secretary for the PAMA board.
I'm Carla Fontaine. I'm the community relations manager for Nationwide Children's, but as for the purposes of PAMA, I am the treasurer for the executive board.
I'm Stephen Murphy. I'm a senior account manager over at JPS Print. And I'm also recently added to Lisa Snyder's communications committee.
Yeah, he didn't say I twisted his arm to get him to do that. So I really appreciate Stephen joining our committee.
We know how this works.
And I'll kick it over to you, Becky and Susan, if you want to introduce yourself, and then if you have, any presentation images or anything that you want to share, you should have screen sharing ability. So I'll kick it over to you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, I'll go ahead and start. Yeah. I'm Becky West. I'm executive director of Columbus Landmarks, and I'm here today with my colleague Susan Keeny, who is our preservation director. Susan is an architect, and she runs our home preservation program. And hopefully just learning a little bit more about what that program provides will help us expand it to not just the Persons Avenue area and those neighborhoods, but to anyone that that has a house that's 50 years old and older that could use some free assistance. So we do have a presentation to share just in case you're not really familiar with who we are and what we do. And we'll try to move through it pretty quickly here, if that's all right. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, I got to an Oracle Zoom screen, but maybe, can you see my screen? Yes, I think you can.
So yeah, I think just that PowerPoint. Yeah,
great.
Perfect.
Okay, let me get up here and we'll start from the beginning. There we go. Great. Okay. Columbus Landmarks was founded back in 1977 following the overnight demolition of the Daniel Burnham designed Union Station. Union Station is one of two buildings designed in Columbus by Daniel Burnham, who is a very notable architect, Chicago architect, you all may know. And the other Burnham building that we have in Columbus that is still standing today is the Wyandotte building down on Broad Street, right across from the Levesque Tower. But the demolition of a Union Station took a lot of people by surprise and was very upsetting to many people. There were a group of concerned citizens kind of came together in the middle of the night, and they got a court order to stop the demolition so that they could save the last standing arch. And that arch has been moved twice to where it now stands today, down in, I'm sorry, it's in the Arena District, yep. And I'm sorry, I was just forgetting the name of the park. It was Daniel Burnham Square, and it's McPherson Commons is the name of it. So this actually led to the creation of Columbus Landmarks. And we are a group that advocates for historic preservation and new design excellence. We want there to be landmarks in the future. I think that a lot of people know us for our advocacy for historic buildings, but we also are fierce advocates for good quality new design. And Carla, I know you're with Children's Hospital, and Children's Hospital won our annual design award about 5 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
So that is all new and not historic preservation.
But a landmark of the future, maybe.
And absolutely a
Remember
landmark.
that. Yes,
It is. Yep. So our mission, we preserve Columbus landmarks and neighborhoods through advocacy, education, and investment, and we promote design that inspires and endures. So we wanted to share with you a little bit about our focus in 2022. We are 1 year into a 3-year strategic plan. And it brings forth 3 key strategies. Equity is the number one. We are committed to taking action by identifying, documenting, and saving African American history and places. And our goal is to create equity and understanding today and a legacy for future generations. There is no question that there are neighborhoods that are associated with African American history have not been preserved as well as those that are associated with white history. And this is very obvious and evident, and it has informed our decision making and our action going forward. Back in, I think it was what year did we do this report? It was about 7 years ago. We did a study of African American landmarks,
Settlements and communities.
Settlements and communities. And that helped us to identify really important places that needed attention and focus. Another key strategy is sustainability. We know that the greenest building is the one already standing, and it is very, very important that we adaptively reuse our historic building inventory. Susan, do you want to touch on that?
Sure. And I think it really is something that is very forward thinking. I think people think of preservation, as Becky said, as somebody who, we look at older buildings, we want to save them. But if you think about the act of preservation and saving a building that has already been built, where the energy has already been spent and carbon's already been released, when you save that building, it's really a very forward thinking thing to do, because you are really minimizing your carbon footprint. I mean, you're saving all that embodied energy. So there's a more and more an increasing understanding amongst the scientists and the design professionals that existing buildings are really absolutely linked to the building industry itself is linked to climate change. So a really easy and kind of the low-hanging fruit is work with what you have. And that's another message for preservation and its importance. So.
Our third key strategy is design excellence, and we talked about focusing on the quality new design in Columbus. We want to make sure that the materials and the just the overall sensibility and the responsiveness of architecture is really that is a key priority for our organization's advocacy and education efforts. So we're hoping that we understand that our city deserves more preservation. And so we have fortunately to kind of make our advocacy and education efforts resound even more strongly, as we were able to create 2 new funds to actually invest in historic preservation. So we've established an Endangered Properties Fund, and we received a bequest from a member to begin that fund. And the fund connects preservation-minded buyers to vacant or underutilized historic commercial properties and ensures their long-term preservation through a protective easement. And this is the tool that we have used to be able to purchase the Nagy brothers shoe repair building. So we were able to purchase that building working with the Nagy family heirs for $35,000. And we have been able to document the important history of that site and how the family served the Hungarian Village neighborhood for decades and decades. And we actually hosted a community kind of design charrette, a meeting, a visioning workshop. Kathy participated in it on behalf of your organization, along with several other neighborhoods. And they came up with a plan that would honor and respect the history of that small little building that many people, just drive by and don't know what it is or what it was, but they know there could be something there. And also to expand the site and to build new on the site to be able to support a productive new use. So they came up with some really interesting concepts for the site, which included some maker space, and those are, we were able to issue an RFP for a development partner. And those, we received a couple of responses to the RFP, and our committee will be evaluating those on May the 10th. So we're really excited about this opportunity to, first of all, that the first Endangered Properties Fund investment is on Parsons Avenue. And at this very wonderful little kind of just modest site. It is. It's a modest site, but it is a very important site, and it is actually something that deserves celebration, just like our great landmarks do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The other fund we were able to create is a home preservation loan fund, and this fund is able to provide low interest short-term loans for exterior repairs and improvements to help maintain the architectural integrity of older homes and neighborhoods. So we are focusing this loan on also in neighborhoods that have experienced disinvestment. Through our strategic plan, we identified 5 neighborhoods to prioritize. The South Side is one of the 5 neighborhoods, as well as Linden, the Hilltop, Milo Grogan, and King Lincoln Bronzeville. And Susan's going to talk a little bit about the, we're back to sustainability. Did I go backward?
I think backwards, yeah.
How am I going backward?
And I just, as we're talking.
Sorry, now I'm jumping forward.
Oh, here we go.
Sorry, everybody.
But
oh my gosh.
At any rate.
Okay, sorry.
I was to mention a little bit about both of those funds. I mean, these funds are really a way for us to kind of put our money where our mouth is. We have done a lot of research, we've invested time, we advocate, but when you have some financial commitment to an endeavor, I think it gains more significance. So that's what we're hoping also that these funds can do. They can serve as an example of just a very physical example of what our mission and vision is. So, and
trying to get back to last viewed or previous. Oh goodness.
There we go.
Okay, we're going to just do it this way. Yeah. All right.
Oh, we might have gone down to that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, here.
Yeah, we could do that.
Excellent.
That's fine. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, you may know that every year we publish an annual list of most endangered sites, and this year will be the 9th year for that list. It will be announced at our May 12th annual meeting, which is going to be held at the former Franklin Park Trolley Barn, which is now the East Market. I don't know if you've had a chance to visit that yet, but if not, we'd love to have you join us at our annual membership meeting next Thursday. So the list identifies sites that have suffered from long-term vacancy, deterioration, or that are threatened with demolition. And so we typically feature about 9 sites a year. All in all, we have featured over 60 sites, and about 27 of those have been saved and repurposed. And I think about 7 or 8 have been lost, and the rest are pending redevelopment. So we have high hopes that this list raises public awareness of our building stock, and also the opportunities that these sites represent within their neighborhoods to be catalysts for revitalization. On our website, you can check out the lists and of course, the descriptions of these buildings, their ages, and their current status. We also track all of these on an atlas tool, a mapping tool that is, if you're a map person, you might like to toggle through that as well. But our advocacy committee keeps close tabs on all of these buildings. We obviously attend many public meetings and advocate on behalf of their adaptive reuse.
So we have to understand that that there isn't always the strong advocacy that we feel for buildings. So why don't people save more of our existing buildings? We really want to understand that, and it really is twofold. There's reality and there's perception. And we know, practically speaking, that you can't save everything, that not every new building can house the program that you would like in there. That just doesn't meet modern day needs and the way our lifestyles are today. And we also understand too that sometimes there is a tipping point where the costs to rehabilitate really far outweigh the gains. So we get that, we understand that, but there's also another one that I think is a little bit less known, but I think we can understand it in ourselves, that we look at some of these old buildings, like you see that little old service station and then the university district, now gone, we look at that and we say, oh, it's an ugly building, and we don't like it. New buildings are more exciting. And the other thing that people often feel is, well, why do I get that old building? I deserve a new building, don't I? Why doesn't my community have, an exciting new mid-rise building? And so, it's sort of combating two things, both the reality and also the perception. But then you can move on to the next.
Oh, sorry.
slide. Yeah, no, that's all right.
But hold on, everybody. That was my cue. Oh my gosh. I'm doing this the hard way.
No, that's
everyone.
all right.
Sorry.
So, we believe in preservation. We know it's important. How do you communicate that with people? Well, in a small way, we have, as Becky mentioned, the home preservation program. It's a very, what I would call like a bottoms up program. One person, one house, one block, one neighborhood at a time. And it's been from its inception in late 2016, a free program, a service to all homeowners who have a house 50 years and older. And believe it or not, 1970s is historic now, our mid-century modern. But we offer free site visits, free assessments, and help. I am an architect and can help homeowners work with priorities. We've also, pre-COVID, and we're getting back in the swing of things, have had a number of workshops for homeowners and to learn different things about like window repair, masonry, plaster, and more. And we know that if people understand what they have and value what they have, and then they know how to take care of it, the chances are that house is going to last a lot longer. These houses were built to last decades and 100 years, many of them are, that we see. And so we know with the proper care and maintenance, and all of this is free, free advice and consultation, we know that these properties will last decades more. The other thing that we have that's in very high demand is we have worked with professionals in the building trades that understand and work with historic buildings. And there is a different skill set in working with historic buildings. So we have developed lists of contractors in various trades, which we are happy to share with any homeowner to help them actualize their project. So
that's been a great service. We get calls every day from homeowners throughout the city who are wanting to do the right thing and to care for their property. And they just aren't connected to the right resources, or they are getting, they don't know who to call. And when you start in the yellow pages, it's a slippery slope and a rabbit hole. So anyway, so fortunately, Susan has developed some great relationships with contractors, and she even knows their availability at times. So that's really helpful when people don't have to wait so long.
Right.
As you all know, everything has become so backed up during COVID.
Exactly, which not just COVID, but at least to our next program, which is the Building Arts Studio at Fort Hayes. In working with contractors throughout town, we realized there are just not enough skilled workers to handle all the work. We know that Columbus is just development crazy, and all of these big jobs pull away workers, you know, I mean, this is an opportunity for them to have a long-term employment at a very good rate. And so it kind of draws from the labor pool that's in our city, and we need to figure out some way how to replenish that. So we have connected, we've been very fortunate in connecting with the Fort Hays Construction Arts Program there, and have worked both last semester and this semester to help train high school students in the historic building trades, in the hope that that might be something that appeals to them. And then they could enter the workforce and, you know, kind of help out with this labor pool that we have a shortage of in our town. So we were very fortunate to get an actual project to work on. It's the little gatehouse that's on Jack Gibbs Boulevard as you turn into campus. It's been vacant for decades, and we have classes conducted each week. We've done like the examination and building analysis, demolition. They love demo, and masonry. As you can see, we've done a lot of tuck pointing and all. We have a long way to go, but this is a real living teaching lab for the students. We were very fortunate to get a grant to initiate this program, and we are looking for ways to take this program from a pilot program to a permanent program here in Central Ohio. So we're really proud of the students.
About 36 juniors and seniors have participated in the program so far. And the little building that they're working on has no heat or plumbing, and it was extremely cold, a cold work site. And so we did a little quick crowdfunding fundraiser, and we were able to quickly raise enough money to buy all of the kids in the program their own Carhartt's work jacket, and we were able to have them embroidered and personalized with their names. And those were distributed, and it was just a really nice gift for these students who will very likely go on to work in the construction trades, and just to help them set them up for their futures a little more. And I think that they're all very proud to be affiliated and to have had their hands on a legacy project like this. You know, to imagine that someday they'll be driving by with their children or grandchildren, that building will still be standing. Hopefully it will be in a productive new use, and they can say, I did that. I did that. So we just are really thrilled with this program so far and have high hopes for it. And we are extremely excited about a vibrant new use for the Nagy Shoe Repair Building. And we are just, again, so grateful that the family entrusted us with finding an appropriate and productive new use. And I can tell you, these are just some of the smiling faces from our board and our membership, who are just really very, very committed to making this a great success. There are all sorts of ways to partner with us. And so if you aren't in our orbit yet, we would love for you to be, but always please keep your eye out for sites that could be nominated to our annual most endangered list. You know, people are the eyes and ears, and you're driving different streets and neighborhoods. And if you see something, the old say something, but you know, there is hope for many of these buildings, and truly it is just, you know, our historic inventory of buildings is dwindling in Columbus. We have less than 25% of our pre-1945 building inventory left to work with. And that compares to 50 city average of about 40%. And some of the cities that are known for their historic architecture, of course, well over, you know, 50%. But we don't want to lose more. And we feel that the old balanced with the new is just really creates a healthy and exciting environment for all Columbus residents, visitors, and certainly it's a gift for future generations. So If you'd like to join us, we want to tell you, please do. It's only $35 a year, and on July 1st, the price goes up. So get in quick. But again, we would love to see any of you at our annual meeting next Thursday at the Rail House at the East Market at the former Trolley Barn. And if you can't make it to that event, definitely pop over there and get a bite to eat, support that fantastic project. It was a bear to bring back such a blighted site. And it is really, you know,
a little jewel now.
it
I
is
think.
such a jewel. And there's more to come on that site, which is really
Absolutely.
exciting.
Yeah.
And if you would like to get in touch with us, we are here for you. So please feel free to reach out with any concerns that you have related to your committee and your work committees and your work with Parsons Avenue Merchants Association, or in your own neighborhoods, or any of your other affiliations. So with that, I will try to stop this sharing here. Yes.
Yay.
Yay.
No, that's great. Thank you so much, Becky and Susan.
Oh,
I really
absolutely.
appreciate that.
Sure.
I know I have a few questions, but I will open it up to anyone else on the call. I know we've had a couple of other people jump on. So maybe for those that have jumped on, or if you can introduce yourselves very quickly. See if any, I've caught them all in a moment there.
Did you just hear that other COVID cough that came behind us? That's our other colleague, Patty. Be
There we go.
happy that we're here.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're
Well, so,
isolated.
I think that, you kind of started off actually talking about sort of that downtown core arena district, that short north, kind of everything, really, I think what a lot of people in Columbus view as a very dense part of, the city in terms of just development and infill and new development that's coming on. How is Landmark sort of working through that? Because, some of our historic neighborhoods, I think there is a little bit more opportunity to retain that smaller scale, kind of that neighborhood scale of, development. I mean, granted, you see new things, obviously, like I think about East Long, with the new Bora projects, a fairly large project for, that community. But is that something that you're having to contend with as well, as sort of this desire for the density and the increase in density, with population increase demands and just, industry demands, but still trying to retain, buildings that may be only a 2-story or 3-story tall building, when everything seems to be a mammoth, 10 or 20-story building kind of building up around it. So how are you sort of contending with that side of things?
Absolutely. It is a balance. And obviously our city is growing and we need to accommodate growth. And we recognize and support the need for more affordable housing. We believe that infill development is the obvious thing to do. So we have over 200 acres of available surface parking lots downtown Columbus. I live by the main library, and I walk this neighborhood and all the surrounding neighborhoods, and it is just so sad how many surface lots you can traverse, and there is an effort to do that, to infill more of those, but of course that becomes a transportation problem as well. And so it's deep. It is, there's more to it than just it's easy. We make it sound easier than it is. We know.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about some of the neighborhood pressures?
Yeah, and various neighborhoods too are, especially ones that have had less investment in them. You can find properties that aren't so expensive, and so they tend to be snatched up. And the big thing is the thing that's of value is really the land and not the building. And we think that's unfortunate, because there's an opportunity to take what's there, and not that you can't improve upon it or expand upon it a little bit, but it's this idea of, and you might have kind of hinted at this, Lisa, it's this dramatic expansion. You know, nothing's wrong with development, and preservation is very compatible with development. But it's the idea that, you know, it doesn't have to be single family homes or multi-story, that there's a variety of building types in between. Sometimes we call that missing middle building, but if you work with the historic structures, that's kind of a good starting point, I think. You know, because what you want is a sense of balance and scale in your neighborhoods. Every urban design plan says walkable, safe, attractive cities. And, you know, that's why people love historic neighborhoods. So you kind of figure, well, you sort of have your design, you know, starting point when you start with a historic building. You know, it's something that's beautiful, that's walkable, that's, you know, it's very pedestrian scale. So let's start with that, you know, and then we can infill appropriately. And those are the kind of things that we look for too with the Ritchie Awards. You know, it's new building, but it's excellent design, you know, and so you have to, I think that's really an important part of development, and very compatible with preservation.
Community Properties of Ohio also has been a past winner of our annual design award, and they seem to be very sensitive to what Susan just described, and with many of their developments. I think it's true too, Susan, that a lot of our kind of naturally occurring affordable housing, those are the older buildings and neighborhoods. And, you know, in my neighborhood, there are a lot of small apartment buildings, historic apartment buildings, and some people will look at them and go, oh, there are window units, you know, and it's like, and that's what keeps it affordable. They didn't have to go in and do a whole HVAC. And it's okay. A lot of people choose and would like to live that way and live there. And for $600 a month, that's how much rent is. And, you know, where else can you find that in a new building? It becomes a big dramatic challenge.
Absolutely.
So anyway, so we're super sensitive to all of those concerns. And we think there is definitely a lot of nuance to it, but there are solutions out there, and we'd love to be a part of them.
Absolutely.
What about situations where I'm sure all of us have been around Columbus and seen empty lots, and when you inquire about it, they seem that the developers are getting them before the individual persons are, and that's part of the affordable housing thing too, because now developers going to put, you know, a double 6-digit house on there where somebody could put a 6-digit or less house on there. So I mean, is there anybody trying to address that? Because I mean, I was just checking like a year ago for a friend on trying to find, you know, I knew there was empty lots, and every time I checked, it wasn't an individual that was getting, developers have been buying them up.
Yeah, they have.
Right. The city land bank has been trying to address that with a policy change for their properties, which is, I think, will be successful ultimately. But it's also a concern to some property owners in the neighborhood, wondering if they're going to hold back value, will that devalue our investment? So there's this constant, you know, tug of war, which is, you know, you raise that point.
Yeah. And I think too that, you know, again, it's this return on investment. And, you know, you're a single person, but, you know, with a developer, they've got attorneys, they have agents who are calling and looking at our city and finding those available lots. I remember one in the University District where the attorney said to us, this is the last high profile developable lot on High Street in the University District. I mean, he knew that because the agent had already, from another state, had already snarfed that out. So they've got teams working on this, and it's very hard to combat that. You're absolutely right. But, you know, I wonder if maybe a call to the planning department just to talk to them and just say, hey, you know, what have you heard so far? And, you know, I'm interested in this. What do you know about it? It's worth a try anyway.
We are, by the way, we are in support of the zoning code updates, but that is exactly the kind of feedback that we hope that they are receiving and hearing loud and clear, so that they can, you know, continue to, you know, to make that code more responsive.
Yeah, I don't know if we can still comment on that. If there's a way there, I know something's up on their website. I don't know if they're still receiving comments, but that would be a good one.
A really good one.
Yeah, it would be a good one to ask.
I have one other question just to ask. So I know there's been a lot of conversations with Columbus Public Schools about some of their school buildings, and kind of going back, Susan, to that comment you made about the embodied energy of a building. I mean, there's we went into West High School last year, and I know that they've done some renovations, but it's not like that's like a run-of-the-mill building you're just going to find anywhere. I mean, it's so solidly built. It's got lots of circulation, lots of great light in spaces, rooms, like a lot of character. But obviously the Columbus Public Schools, from a financial standpoint, is trying to look at do they reconsolidate and restructure and then close down some locations. So I know that even I think about on the west side, they rebuilt too, like in Franklinton, the new Starling middle school over off of Central, but then you have the old building that has, again, a lot of embodied. So are you seeing more opportunities there with those types of, I guess, older civic buildings or things like that as new builds kind of supplant, even I think about with the city moving from, they used to obviously be a lot more satellite in terms of offices, but the Beacon building there at the corner of what Gay in Front, I think downtown, was sort of the head of the planning and the landscape or land bank and
Yeah, right.
Public service for a long time before they sort of tried to reconsolidate. So are you seeing opportunities with some of those civic buildings or interest, I guess, in people investing in either former government buildings or schools or those types of spaces as redevelopment opportunities?
Oh, definitely. The private developers are very interested in those and many of the historic school buildings, for example, have been successfully adaptively reused. However, there is that legislative hurdle that the city, Columbus City Schools obviously is working toward consolidation and the building of many new school buildings right now. So we will be seeing several of these surplus buildings being made available, but you probably know that the charter schools have the first right to those. And while that sounds noble, another school for a school, what we're starting to see is that the charter schools are making a play for purchasing these buildings, holding them for the number of years that they're required. I think it might be 5, and then they're selling to, for a redevelopment or, it's an investment for them. Mm-hmm. And so, which is, it keeps the building standing from our point of view, but it's, would it be better if a private developer was able to, get in there earlier and with a plan for its actual productive long-term reuse? Mm-hmm. Hard to say.
Yeah. I think one thing that the municipalities have, and not just Columbus, but all, need to realize, and getting back to climate change, we don't have time. We are running out of time. And the more we demolish, the worse it gets. We really need to save our old buildings. And I understand that the old buildings have to be retrofitted. That's expensive because we want them to be energy efficient. New buildings are much more energy efficient, with materials and things like that. However, you don't get that payback for a number of years, and we don't have that long to wait. And you can see examples of climate change. Our temperatures are increasing and all. And it's something that we think about is way down in the future, but it isn't. And the decisions we make today really can stop that, or it can escalate that. And so I think municipalities really have to get serious about this and looking at the building inventory and what can we do now, hang on to this now.
Yeah, we would love to see adaptive reuse as part of our city's climate action plan as a priority, and other really progressive cities throughout the world. It is a #1 tactic, mm-hmm. and it is not part of our plan.
Yeah, it isn't.
And our city actually is demolishing more historic buildings right now, or ones that are concerning us, than any other party.
Well, I think about, and I don't know if landmarks really touches on this, but I do start to think about too, with, especially school spaces, how much land they tend to also have, right? In terms of opportunities for community gathering spaces, or if it's redeveloped, say into a residential, you have obviously built in probably parking in some capacity, as well as green space. That's, in a lot of older neighborhoods, yes, there's green space, but like large swaths, it's starting to get smaller and smaller.
Yes.
Is landmarks also, I think about some of the places too. You think about a Goodale Park, you think about a Schiller Park, you think about those types of outdoor spaces, community gathering spaces. I know obviously we've touched a lot about, built environment and the architectural side, but is landmarks also kind of interested in those types of space? I know some of them are rec and parks, so it makes it a little bit easier to retain, but those types of gathering spaces or community spaces that really are kind of linchpins within a lot of the communities that they situate themselves in.
I was going to say, I think that's why we call that endangered, it's not an endangered buildings list, it's an endangered sites. Isn't that right? Yeah. And it's because we want to accommodate that, there may be a really lovely garden apartment with courtyard that's small, but that's a little bit of green space in an urban environment that we're forgetting about. So we kind of broadened that title of our endangered sites list to include that. I think you've hit on a very good point. And in our city, we have a lot of parks, which is great, but we really need to be mindful of our green open space and not necessarily build from property line to property line. Buildings have to accommodate that.
Well, are there any other questions? We'll definitely include your contact information and social channels and kind of a follow-up email with our, our members and those on our mailing list. So, but don't want to, if anyone has any other questions, don't want to also stifle that. So
excellent. And we will definitely keep you up to date on what's happening at 1725 South Parsons. And again, we'd love to see you all in person. So hopefully we'll have an opportunity to connect soon, but it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for allowing us this opportunity.
No, thank you so much, Susan and Becky, for sharing your information. And just, I think everyone will be excited to see that not only the Nagy building, but other, projects and things that you're working on. And we'll definitely let people also know about the home reinvestment fund, because I think there are probably quite a few properties on the south side that will qualify within that, that time frame. So
excellent. We appreciate what you all are doing.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much and have a great day.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you for joining
Thanks.
us.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
So with everyone else that is still on, I don't know if anyone else has any other updates that they want to share. I know Nancy and Catherine are on the call. I didn't know if there's anything from the city side that you'd like to just give updates on.
Yeah, this is Nancy. Thanks for having me. I would like to announce to everyone that May 18th is the first of our council community meetings. It's on the west side. It's all over the news, and it's 6 to 7:30. I cannot remember the location, but I can send it to everybody. And that's the beginning of that. Also, I send out a weekly update of the council highlights and other information. So I'll put my email in the chat. If anybody would like to receive those that is not getting them, just let me know. Thanks so much.
Nancy, I think it's at Glenwood Recreation Center on the
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Miss Catherine. That's correct.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Catherine Call. I am the new South Side Neighborhood Liaison. I just returned from vacation about 1 a.m. last night, so my brain is still a little foggy. I did see I was watching the press conference from Mayor Ginther that they are going to be doing more targeted enforcement for the motorcycles and ATVs that are going up and down the street. I know it's a big concern in some of the South Side neighborhoods. So when I find out specifically what they're doing, I will certainly share that in my Thursday email blasts. What I do, one of the biggest takeaways is, as you are seeing it happening on your streets in real time, call the police, give as much description as you can, location, make and model of the vehicle and the person's driving it, because that's going to give the police as much information as possible so that they can track down these individuals. And that's all I have. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. And thank you, Nancy. Just dropped her contact information in the chat. So, right, and I see Jill just joined us. Sorry if you were in the waiting room or something, Jill.
No worries. Patrick will be joining us soon if he's not already on.
I think most of you are have probably received the e-blast, but just wanted to remind anybody that we are doing a dedication of the new public art sculpture at the corner of Parsons and South Lane, so just south of where the Fitness Loft building and Local Matters is located, May 19th from 10 to 11. I know a few of you have already RSVP'd, so looking forward to seeing you there, but just for the others on the call, if you are available at that time and are able to attend, certainly just let us know. And Jill, I'm happy to give the floor to you here for a minute if you just want to, I know that Patrick will hopefully be joining us, but if you just want to introduce yourself and.
I will shoot him a note to ask him to join. He might be
Okay.
waiting until 10. He'll be able to share his screen, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So my name is Jill Frost and I work with the ADAMH Board of Franklin County. We've been going out to these groups like this to talk about the new crisis center that'll be coming online in 24. We'll break ground later in the summer, probably early September. I think that Ginger Cunningham is with us. She is managing vendor outreach. And as soon as bid packages are ready, Ginger will be shooting those out to people. So if you're a vendor and would like information about the bid packages, please drop your information in the chat. And Ginger will add you to our list of contacts for that. And I'm sending Patrick an email asking him to join, please. And I also will drop a flyer in the chat about the upcoming project. And Ginger, we are expecting bid packages later this month.
That's my understanding. That's my understanding.
And we're also planning an outreach event for vendors later this month as well, so that we can share with contractors and subcontractors information about the project.
We'll as soon as we've got the dates and everything locked in, and we will be sending a notice out as quickly as we possibly can. If anybody would like to receive a notice, make sure you add your contact information again on the contact on the chat screen.
Perfect, thank you. And Patrick has joined us. Patrick is the CFO of the ADAMH Board here in Franklin County, and he will share information about the upcoming project, and we'll also share his slides about the project. Patrick?
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
I'm going to need a couple of seconds here to get the slides in place.
That's okay. Hopefully everyone saw Kaylin Pittman from Community Outreach for Franklin County Auditor Michael Cinciano did also drop some information in chat. We'll be sure to distribute that information as well through our channels. But there is a affordable housing fair at Westgate Community Center on May 14th from 1 to 4 p.m. So.
Awesome.
Which is the thing that shares? No, the one that says share screen. How about that? All right. That's this one here. Lost my video or my audio. How do I make my speaker go back on?
Maximize the screen.
Here.
Use your mouse and I can get you.
Does that help me? Yes, that's my belief.
Can everyone hear? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm not muted.
You're good.
Look at that.
And can you see his screen is sharing?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Shut your door.
Thank you. All right. Jill, are we ready to go?
It's all yours. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Is it safe to assume that everybody here knows very little about this project, or is this something that all of you are already fairly aware of?
I think you can assume that. I certainly do not know a lot, so I'm very excited to hear more about the Crisis Center.
Okay. Very good. Well, we'll start from kind of square one. And let me start by asking all of you to simply imagine your own situations for yourself, for a loved one. Imagine that you've got someone that finds themselves in a substance use crisis or a mental health crisis. I'm going to share some data with you in a second that is going to tell you how prevalent this is, but given the prevalence, chances are on a screen here I see with about 10 of us, there's a good chance that most, if not all of us, either have ourselves had some issues of mental health over the years, or perhaps know someone, have someone in our family, know of others. And what happens if you find yourself in that situation where you yourself or someone that you love, you care about, is having a crisis, and what do you do? And what I'm going to talk to you about today is one answer to that, which is a better answer than we have right now. So what I'm going to talk about is building a physical facility, 72,000 square foot Franklin County Mental Health and Addiction Crisis Center. And let me see if I can advance the slides here. There we go. Here's some of that data that I was mentioning to you, just to tell you how prevalent this is and what our need levels are. Some 21% of Franklin County's 1.3 million residents will experience a mental illness in any given year, right? So more than 1 in 5 of us. And I should also say that this is not an illness that only afflicts certain people, right? This is young and old, rich and poor, black and white, you name a demographic, and there are issues of mental health there. And I think people are becoming more aware of that right now, and that I think is a good thing. There are some 30,000 mental health crises episodes treated in Franklin County every single year. Big number. And some 900 individuals that need medical clearances are transported from current crisis facility to emergency departments. So current crisis facility is typically net care, which does some good work. It has limited facilities, is often not able to take, they don't have bed space in the room to take the volume that we have in Franklin County. And thinking off into the future, some 23% of Franklin County's population expected to see a 23% increase in the need for mental health and addiction services over the next 10 years. So what we're really trying to do is build a facility that is not just for what we need today, but what we're going to need over the next decade. And all of you can start to imagine, you've seen, if you've been around here, you've seen the sheer number, the growth most of the demographic growth in Ohio is in Columbus and in Franklin County. And you've seen how the needs have changed perhaps as well, because we have a different population. We have different population groups that are part of our community now. So the sheer volume of our needs and the types of needs that we have are changing. When I talk about this crisis center, I want you to be aware that this is really part of call it a three-legged stool, continuum of crisis care. So there are different aspects of this care that we want to have available that we think cover all the bases. Part of it is this crisis center that I'll talk in more detail about, but there's also the issues of who do you call if somebody is having a mental health issue, and 988 is the number, sort of a mental health equivalent of 911 that will be coming online this year still. Mobile response refers to the fact that when someone is in a mental health crisis and often the call goes to police, to first responders, and they may come, and if they are trained as police officers, they may, or more likely may not, have proper training for people with mental health crises. And so trying to get the right people available to respond is also a critical element of all of this. And we've been working with the Sheriff's Office as well as Columbus Police Department to work on those situations as well. So those two I'm not going to talk about today, though if you wanted to hear more about those, we certainly could do a presentation at some point in the future and tell you more about that. But the crisis center then becomes the third part, the physical place, the physical space where people can go 24/7, all adults in Franklin County, if they're having a mental health crisis. Now, I like to say that this is a project, I say our project, and when I say our, I don't mean ADAMH's, I mean Franklin County's, our communities. This is something that long before I came to ADAMH, meetings were being held throughout the community. In fact, our talking to you today is in many ways just a continuation of a long community dialogue that we've been having, seeking community support, trying to figure out what the perspectives are on what the needs are from community providers, from hospitals. You can see the screen there. I mentioned law enforcement earlier, advocacy organizations, and importantly as well, individuals with lived experience, that is those who themselves have had mental health crises or mental health issues, or have lived with people that have had mental health issues. And so our vision, as you can see there as well, is that we have a safe and secure facility with the capacity to serve anyone at any time. It's a 24/7 facility. We'll have a full array of services to support individuals with mental health and substance use disorders, as well as a range of coexisting medical issues. So in other words, it's probably not a surprise to you that those who might have mental health issues might also have some underlying or simultaneous physical health issues. And so we'll have the ability to provide basic care for those kinds of issues at the same time, at the same facility. And that, of course, is going to keep people from having to be transferred to or going in the first place to the emergency room, where they are do their best, but are by their own admission not equipped to do the kinds of things that we're trying to do for this population. And so finally, I mentioned the integration of peer support into all levels of care. And very importantly, providing what we call a warm handoff. In other words, you're going to come to this facility. If you're going to be in a state of crisis, the goal is to figure out what the situation is, to de-escalate the crisis, to stabilize the client, and to then move them on to whatever is next, and that is whatever is appropriate for them. Right? We will actually be working with our provider network and others to figure out what the next steps are. In fact, we'll have facilities in the building that will allow some of our providers, for example, to come in and have meetings with those who are served in our facility. So you imagine if you're in crisis, and just use an example, maybe you're on medication, but you didn't take the medication, and that's causing a situation, and but we're able to get the medication for you. You've moved away from the crisis situation, but we still assume that you may need some help down the road. It may be you need to go to another facility inpatient immediately, or you may be able to go home and you simply need help making sure that you're taking your medication. Whatever it is, we're going to have those next steps available and working with clients at this facility. So we don't just give you a phone number and say good luck. To the contrary, we work with you individually and figure out what those next steps need to be. In case you are wondering where the building might be, this is a map that shows you the location. So it's on Harmon Avenue. If you know where the Franklin County Children's Services building is, we are right across the street from that. Also, if you're driving on the highway, I think you can see the big W that stands for West Edge Business Park. We are on the parcel that has that big W sign on it right now. So that's exactly where we're building. It was important to us that this be centrally located, which it is. It was also important to us that, and this is, if you can't tell easily from the map, it's at really the intersection of I-70 and 315, kind of in that little area just to the south of the southwest of downtown. We also want to make sure that it was on public transportation, which it also is. Here are some of the levels of care. So I've alluded to a few of these things already. First of all, this is for anybody to walk in or be brought in 24/7, 365 days a year. So we'll have facilities to come in, to be assessed, and to figure out what the next steps might be. We may find out that you as a client need to stay for a little longer, to be observed, see better what's going on. So we have an observation unit that will be available. And then for some patients, staying inpatient, staying overnight may be in order. And so we'll have 16 beds as well for inpatient care. And we'll have a number of other services that go with this. We'll have basic pharmacy services. So it's not a full-blown pharmacy, but if, for example, you have the need for some medication for the next couple of days to tide you over, we can provide that. We can kind of make sure your meds are in good order, that you're taking the right amounts, that you know what you need to take, and we can get those for you. I mentioned medical services, so in case there are physical health issues along with mental health issues, those services are available on site within some reason, right? Obviously, if there's a serious trauma, I mean, then we may need to transfer to a hospital, but within some reason, we're able to stabilize people with their the physical medical conditions, and then move them into treatment and care for their mental health crises at the same time. Various community services, I mentioned that, being able to do that warm handoff to the right provider for what comes next. Supporting families as well. This is a critical element of care and healing. And if you don't have support from family, it gets a lot tougher. And finally, we also mentioned mental health, but substance use disorder treatment is also available. So people could be coming in because of crises more along with that. I mentioned that this is really a community effort, a community project, and this shows you where support is coming from so far. Our target cost for the project is about $50 million. In this current environment, that's going to be a struggle to stay in that number, but we're working to do that. But so far, we have gotten support from a number of jurisdictions, everything from the federal government, which recently gave us $500,000 as part of one of the stimulus bills, infrastructure bills, as well as $4.5 million from the state of Ohio and one of their capital bills about 2 years ago. We're putting in some of our own levy dollars, and again, by our own, I mean those that were voted on by the voters, by the citizens of Franklin County and the residents of Franklin County. So $8 million there, another $8 million from the adult serving hospital system. So a combination of Mount Carmel, OSU Wexner, and Ohio Health. $10 million from the Franklin County Commissioners, $10 million from the City of Columbus. We have raised to date about $5.6 million in philanthropic support from a number of different foundations, and you can see those listed on your lower left-hand side of the screen. We're still trying to raise about $3.3 million to get to that 50 number. And if we're able to do all of that, that sort of fills in the full donut. So this really is a project that a lot of people have a stake in and are not just talking and saying good things about and speaking nicely about the project, but they're actually putting their money where their mouths are and bringing money to the table. So that's I think that's a critical element, and it shows the level of support and the breadth of support that I think this project has. I'm not going to go over this full list, but it's important to note that we have done a lot of even though you haven't seen the building starting to be built yet, that doesn't mean that a lot of work hasn't been done already, and you can see some of the things that were done. Perhaps most importantly are those final 3 checkmark items there. We have a crisis center operator, so we ADAMH are not going to be the ones that run this. We're bringing in an organization that has experience doing this around the country, operating crisis centers like this. And in fact, we're already contracting with them right now in order to get their advice and as we design the center, making sure we do so with an eye toward how it needs to be operated. We have an architect, NBBJ, that's done some great work all over the city and the country, including the Behavioral Health Pavilion at Nationwide Children's Hospital. And Elford Cornicosing is the partnership team that was selected as the construction manager. And if you follow construction in this community, you probably know of those entities as well. So really good, solid reputations from all of them. As far as our timeline, we expect to break ground later this summer in 2022, and we expect to be in business, as it were, in 2024. So just 2 years from now. That is our goal. We're still on target to do that. So that's what I wanted to share with you, and I'm happy to take questions, but given the audience, I want to see if Jill, Ginger, or Marlise have anything that they want to add before we take questions.
Again, I'm Marlise Ryan with Franklin County Board of Commissioners, Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion. Just here to assist Ginger Cunningham and Associates with small business participation on this project.
We're gonna be looking for vendors out there that are in the trades, especially small minority companies that are wanting to take part in the project. We're going to be reaching out to them, and they'll have to fill out applications for pre-qualifications. But we're looking for as many of those companies out there that are interested in the possibility of being a part of this project as far as construction is concerned. I will make sure that, Jill, if you do me a favor and put my contact information, my email and stuff on the chat, I would greatly appreciate that. So if anybody has any small companies that they're interested, that you think might be interested in applying, just send them my contact information and send them my contact information. I'll be able to get with them and talk to them and make sure that they get notifications of the outreach event that we're going to be having shortly. Thank you.
And I think what, maybe if I could say what Ginger and Marlise mentioned is really consistent with our goal of making this a real community project, right? And so if you say it's a community project, it's not just something that's for the community, but also by the community. So to the greatest extent possible, we want to involve local labor and local businesses in both the construction and the operations to the greatest extent possible. So we're very much committed to that.
Yes, and on those lines, Patrick, there is a 12% goal. You probably mentioned that on the construction side for small emerging businesses.
I think maybe we can take questions now if anyone has any.
So Patrick, in the meantime, obviously, 2024 will be here soon enough, but
Yes,
in
it
the
will.
meantime, what other resources are available that we can direct if people are in crisis? What other resources are, is there just to go to the ADAMH board website? What's kind of the best way to get information about, crises resources people may need right now in that interim period?
You can certainly do that as far as going to the website, but also NetCare is available to provide crisis services. If it would be helpful, I can get those numbers for you. I'm not sure I have those right handy, or anybody else wants to try to pull those up while we're talking. But those are probably the best resources when people are in crisis. But I would also mention for people that are not in crisis, but are having mental health challenges, one of the things that ADAMH does, in fact, the main thing we do is fund a network of some 32 providers around the community. So we typically don't provide the services, we support and fund the services, the service providers themselves. And so depending on what the needs might be, we can direct people to the right place.
And this may be a question more for Ginger in terms of the vendor bid packages and kind of that kickoff. I assume you're looking for everything from construction trades to furnishings and outfitting at the, kind of the back end when everything's completed, painters, whatever is it, or is it a little bit different in terms of your needs?
No, we're looking for everything because
Okay.
Goods and services, furniture, anybody that have those services or skills that we might be able to use. We're reaching out to everybody in that arena. Okay.
Great. Thank you so much.
I should say as part of, go ahead.
Oh, no, please go ahead.
As part of making this a community conversation, if we need to do follow-up and come back and talk to you in a few months, we're happy to do that as well. Or if you have specific questions along the way, don't hesitate to reach out. This is certainly not a one-off.
Sure. No, thank you. If I know that you have Kathy's contact information, I could drop my contact information in the chat as well, in terms of when that event will be coming up, for vendors, and just anything that may deal with also providers within the community. Feel free to send me that information as well, and we'll be happy to disseminate that to our contact list and make sure that people are aware of those upcoming events. So
that would be great.
Any other questions from the floor? Well, Patrick, Marlise, Jill, Ginger, thank you all so much for coming and sharing updates. It's really exciting. Not the most exciting time probably from a financial standpoint to be planning construction, but
it is rough. It is rough.
But an absolutely fantastic thing to know and see that there's sort of a bit more of a kind of holistic facility that'll be, coming online here soon enough to help really tackle a lot of these challenges within our community. So thank you very much. I really appreciate the time this morning.
And Lisa,
Thank you, Lisa.
let me say this, and again, thank you. As soon as we get the notice available for the outreach event, we'll make sure that you're on the list so you can receive it to get it out to your constituents. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you all. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. Thank you as well. All right, so that'll
Thank you
wrap
for
up
joining us.
our May call today. And we will be having happy hour June 14th details to kind of follow up as our kind of off month, more social events. Definitely stay tuned to the PAMA website, parsonsarea.org, if you have additional information that you want to get, news and notes about upcoming events. And we'll certainly follow up as well kind of afterwards with our general mailer to just let everyone know. But if there are any other things that you want us to know, feel free. Again, my contact information is in the chat. Feel free to do that. And with that, I think we'll end today's call. Everyone have a great rest of your day, and we hope to see you in June. All right, thanks, everybody.